Hello everyone, and welcome to this board game overview for Kingdom Death Monsters Hunt Phase. In this video, I will be going over the generics of the hunt itself, including the simple cards that you can get on here, and Overwhelming Darkness and Starvation as well. The hunt events themselves I'll be doing in at least one other video, possibly more since there's 100 of them, and the hunt events specific to monsters I will be doing in videos for those monsters. But with that said, some basics on the hunt itself. So the hunt board is a simple board of just 12 spaces, not counting the start, otherwise it's 13, since you can never do anything on the start, even if you're pushed back to it. You only do stuff when you move forward. Cards can be put onto here. Most of them are very generic, simple cards with the same back, and you get new ones to mix in later, although there are some printing issues of they're a different shade. Currently, there are 3 other cards that are not generic hunts or cards meant to be hidden in that deck of cards, and 2 of them come with the core game. I will be covering those as well in this video. They are the Mineral Gathering and the Herb Gathering events. You get to place those where you want if you have the appropriate items to gain them. They both benefit for being placed after Overwhelming Darkness, which, speaking of that, there are 5 spaces before and 5 spaces after, not counting Starvation, which is its own space. That's where cards can go. Now, mind you, everything I will be going over in this will be based on the core set. Many of the expansion monsters mess with the rules of these significantly. Overwhelming Darkness is a story event in itself, and that will be on the close-up stuff, as well, at this point, everything else, except Starvation. Starvation's just real simple. If the monster is here, and you reach here, you lose D5 resources from the settlement storage. Obviously, you get to choose those. If the monster is here, and you make it here, you still suffer starvation, as opposed to pre 1.5, where the monster could just go off the board and it's gone. You don't even get to fight it. To avoid starvation, the primary method is cooking and stone nose soup, which is an endeavor event that costs some resources that lets you just ignore starvation if you get to it. But with that said, let's get to the close-up stuff, including the cards and the unique story events. Again, hunt events will be a separate video. Alright, now before I move on to the events, I want to go over the 3 hunt cards that are non-monster specific that are available in the core game. First, we've got the Random Hunt event card, which is literally just what you do on a blank space, albeit you have to still resolve this card as such, and a blank space is just treated as one of these if you move to one, and it is just roll a d100, and it's the explained example here, and go to the hunt event table based on what you roll. Then we have Herb Gathering, which is get the Herb Gathering event. You get to place this wherever you want as long as you have the bone sickle, and it says the survivors consume herbs and berries. All survivors gain +1 survival. And then we have Mineral Gathering, which is pretty much the same. It's the Mineral Gathering event. You place this wherever you want, and it's from the Bone Pickaxe, but it doesn't have a mineral gaining thing. Do keep in mind, no matter where you put these, you still have to resolve specifically these 2 or similar cards before you would resolve whatever's underneath it, be that a blank space, still counting as one of these, or a monster hunt event card. Also, currently, there is a reason for these cards existing. There are currently 3 cards that can be shoveled in with these. One is from the Lonely Tree expansion, and the other 2 are from standalone white box expansions, specifically Percival and Fade. Those 2 will be covered once I get to the standalone models, and of course the Lonely Tree one will be covered when I get to the Lonely Tree. Also, there is a 3rd example of these in the Sunstalker expansion, the Sky Fishing. Next, we go on to Overwhelming Darkness and these 2 events. Now, first of the 3 story events that I'll be covering in this video will be Overwhelming Darkness, as it is the standardized one that you pretty much have to deal with most of the game. There's 2 expansions that overlap this, but we are covering core game materials currently. Overwhelming Darkness. All survivors must determine their paths and walk them simultaneously. So, not like, oh, hey, walk the same one, like, as in, as much as you will resolve these one at a time officially, they all happen at the same time, so somebody can't help one person through another. Insane survivors walk the path of the insane. Path of the insane, roll 1d10. And this is how all three of these work. It's just a table of results based on which path you take, with insane being worse and them getting better as you go. 1 through 3. You feel safe and welcome within the darkness. Spend all your survival, at least one, to shake yourself from this delusion, or wander in the darkness, lost forever. Dead. 4 through 6. You shriek and lash out. All survivors suffer 1 event damage to a random hit location. It is assumed that you are actually all going down the same path, and it's just how you perceive it. So this is not just hitting people in Path the Insane, it will hit everyone. 7 through 9. A huge eye stares at you from the darkness. It scares you sane. Set your insanity to 1 and gain the post-traumatic stress disorder. And finally, 10. The crab spider you've been traveling with stops to eat a few hissing maggots. You decide you can't leave your friend behind. Gain a crab spider vermin resource, which is always hilarious. And remember, a crab spider counts as hide, not just vermin. Next, if no other path applies, I'm still going to cover the third one last. Pretty much this is the default. Walk the path of the doom. 1. A host of translucent moths gently descend on you. Spend all your survival, at least 1, or your lantern light vanishes and you're never seen again. Dead. 2. A pall of doom falls over you. Gain a -3 luck token for the duration of the showdown. 3 through 4. You glimpse a nightmare whale swimming overhead. Your heart shrivels. Lose half your survival, round down, and gain the post-traumatic stress disorder. 5 through 7. You choke on the atmosphere. It leaves you sick and unbalanced. Lose monster level survival and gain a -1 evasion. That does mean you will often lose 2 survival because out of the core game, you're pretty much going to be passing through Overwhelming Darkness on a level 2 or higher. The Phoenix is the best chance at a level 1. 8+. Resolute. Gain 1 insanity and 1 courage. Speaking of courage, survivors with 3+ courage walk Path of the Brave. Note, if your settlement has innovated Song of the Brave, you may choose to do this regardless. It's one of the reasons I consider Song of the Brave one of the better innovations in the game and almost necessary. Because arguably, you have to walk Path of the Insane if you have the +3 courage but are also insane. And if you're hunting a Phoenix, generally you want some insanity. 1. You find a half-dead survivor covered in translucent moths. Ignore them, losing 1 courage, or spend all your survival to save them. Gain +1 population. This is one of the more reliable ways to gain a survivor without going to intimacy. 2 through 3. You punch yourself in the face to chase away doubt. Gain a -1 accuracy token. 4 through 6. A massive whale swims overhead. Your guts quiver with its booming cries. Vomit in fear, but keep a brave face. Gain a -1 evasion token. After this event, all other survivors gain +1 survival from your bold display. 7 through 9. With your lantern held high, you cut a path through the teeming darkness. Suffer 1 event damage to your arm. Remember, event damage cannot kill you or because it can't cause you to roll on tables. 10+. You emerge from the darkness with a new perspective. Gain the leader fighting art. Song of the Brave also, once you get to the showdown, lets you remove a single negative token on each survivor. So that also solves a lot of problems of this. Next up, we have Herb Gathering. Again, this is from the specific hunt event card, which I do recommend for multiple reasons to be put in after Overwhelming Darkness, generally this spot immediately after, and below Mineral Gathering if you also have it. Each survivor must make a special gathering roll. To make a gathering roll, a survivor nominates any number of d10s and rolls them. If 2 or more die results are the same, you score a 0. Otherwise, add all your dice results to determine your gathering score. Add all survivor gathering scores to make a single final score and consult the herb exploration table. And here comes the Overwhelming Darkness benefit. Add 10 to the final score if the survivors have passed the Overwhelming Darkness space on the hunt board. Now, on to the results. 10 through 11, the survivors don't find anything. Roll again on the hunt event table before moving on the hunt event board. Yeah, that's a little annoying. 12 through 44, Fresh Arcanthus, which is a strange resource. Also, as this is the first moment other than from the Arcanthus terrain tile of myself mentioning Fresh Arcanthus, here is a Fresh Arcanthus. Herb, Archive this to fully heal one hit location. Include injury levels and armor points, so you heal up to the armor that location would normally have when you departed in the first place. Arguably, it's just the gear, so if you have things like bonus armor spots, that might not count. Honestly, I don't recommend using this for that use. I recommend using it for its various uses in the settlement. This could be very useful later on when you have even 4+ per spot. I'd say 6+ armor, that is, per spot would make it more useful. Do keep in mind, there are only 4 copies of this card, and once you've drawn that 4th one, that's the last one you're getting for this hunt/showdown, which can also be really annoying if you're going after the Screaming Antelope at the same time. But honestly, it's worth having all 4. And then you can actually consume them anyway, and get more. 45 through 74. Gain 2 fresh Arcanthus Strange resource. If the settlement has cooking, gain 1 random vermin resource, and all survivors gain +3. It's questionable in the grammar whether or not you need cooking to gain the +3 survival, so if you don't have cooking, arguably the previous result is better. And finally, 75. The survivors find a path through the weeds. Any survivor with a sickle may explore the swamp or gain a fresh Arcanthus Strange resource. So you'll see an opposite effect of this, along with the past Overwhelming Darkness effect, for mineral gathering. Because in this case, getting the better results here lets only people with a sickle. And keep in mind, the Bones sickle is not necessarily the only sickle in the game. I can't think of other sickles off the top of my head, but I know that there are more pickaxes than the Bone Pickaxe. Those 2 are still necessary for these events. But regardless, onto the table for Explore the Swamp. Explore the Swamp. Roll a d10. If you have an almanac, roll twice and select which result to keep. Not the highest, not the lowest. Trust me, there are times you don't want 10 a second time on this. 1. A huge waterlogged plant bursts from the depths and devours you. You're dead. If your settlement has survival of the fittest, you manage to escape. This is pretty much the image over on the previous page. 2 through 3. Suddenly, the water around you bubbles furiously. Spend 1 to survival to dive to safety or perish. If you have 3+ courage, you may explore the swamp again. If you have survival of the fittest and the extra survival, it's really not that bad of an idea. 4 and 5. You find a captivating clearing. Gain a fresh Arcanthus Strange resource and explore the swamp again. Any survivor that has not explored may now also roll on the table, so people without sickles. 6 and 7. A ghostly flower blooms, uncovering a face inside. It tells you that you are a peaceful, careless flower. Remove any disorder and gain the apathetic disorder. And +1 understanding. This gets into some of the ideas that I have about the lore of the setting, but I'll leave that for some other time. 8. You observe a small insect pollinating a flower. Gain +1 understanding, a fresh Arcanthus resource, and a random vermin resource. You watch it pollinate, and then you take it with you. 9. You find a round, hairy fruit and consume it. If you are insane, you imagine the fruit bestowing enlightenment. Gain the extra sense fighting art. Otherwise, gain 10 survival. The period there makes this a little odd, but the otherwise makes it very clear. You gain the extra sense fighting art if you're insane. And 10. Deep in the swamp, you find a twisting vine in the shape of a withered hand holding a fruit. Seductive and repulsive. The shining fruit is a sight to behold. You must eat the fruit. If you cannot consume, nothing happens, so shattered jaw and such. This then goes to another table. Eat the fruit. If the survivor consumes a second fruit, they die instantaneously. This is why you don't want a 10, more than once. Otherwise, roll on the table below. 1. Razor maggots explode from the survivor, killing them instantly. That also doesn't help. 2 through 4. An explosion of tiny red seeds bursts in your mouth. You stagger, blinded by the overwhelming sensation. You're forever changed. Gain +1 red affinity. 5 through 7. Tart, sticky green seeds scorch your sinuses before settling into a delicious, refreshing feeling. You are forever changed. Gain +1 permanent green affinity. And lastly, 8+. Bitter blue seeds stain your mouth with thick black juice. Their powerful flavor awakens you. You are forever changed. Gain +1 permanent blue affinity. These do stack with saviors, by the way, but that doesn't mean it will be the color that they want. But just a heads up. And now you can also see why it's, if you eat this again, you're dead anyway. Now, on to mineral gathering. Every survivor with a pickaxe rolls on the mineral gathering table. See, this time it's not everybody rolls, it's only people with the tool. This time it's a simple D10 roll. 1 through 3. You strike a stone that resembles your face. It explodes, covering you in blood. Gain +1 insanity and the hemophobia disorder. This sucks, because hemophobia disorder, again, is, oh, somebody's bleeding? You're knocked down. Or it gains a bleeding token, really. 4 through 5. Gain 1 broken lantern resource. A sudden rock slide catches you off guard. Suffer 2 event damage to a random hit location. That's annoying, but whatever. 6 and 7. You find 1 iron strange resource among the unyielding stone faces. As you free it, roll 1d10. On a 6+, you hear a snap. Archive a pickaxe in your gear grid. This can really suck because some of the non-bone pickaxes are really nice, and even then the bone pickaxe, that's a waste of resources. And now, since this is my first time mentioning the iron strange resource, other than the terrain tile, here's the actual card itself. Iron. It is a scrap, harder than bone. So there's 6 copies of this in the deck, and like I said with the Arcanthus plants, if you run out, you run out. The mineral terrain tiles are arguably more reliable for getting iron if you have a pickaxe, but there's a lot more stuff that can come out of this event. 8+. Gain 1 scrap basic resource. Currently that is only the broken lanterns. Keep in mind there's only 2 of them, although something's about to break the rule that normally comes with that. If this event occurs after overwhelming darkness, you find a cave, resolve all rolls on mineral gathering, then any survivor may descend to the worm tunnels. So, only one person needs to roll this in order for all the survivors on the hunt to go into the worm tunnels. And this goes into 3 tables, one leading into the next. Also, this is the reason you place this after overwhelming darkness. So, while you don't get a bonus, if it's not after overwhelming darkness, you don't get access to the tables below without it being afterwards. And you're going to see why in terms of survival. I recommend putting it before herb gathering. Worm tunnels. Roll a 1d10, which you do on all 3 of these. Also on all 3 of these, you'll add +2 for something. In this case, it's a sickle. Also, it's not really a good idea to go into these insane, as you're about to see. 1 through 3, you spend too much time in the tunnels, lose half your survival, rounded down. If you are insane, you strike up a conversation with yourself, and gain a random disorder. 4 through 7, you blunder in the darkness, lost, and separated from the other survivors. A voice whispers to you, leading you back. Lose 2 survival and gain 2 insanity. If you're deaf, you do not heed the voice and disappear into the darkness. You're dead. And 8+. You find an iron strange resource embedded in a hairy crystal. Choose to either gain the iron or spend 2 survival to follow the crystal trail, leading you to the crystal lake, which is the next table. And this one is crystal lake. Also roll a d10, and whip gives you the +2 bonus on this one. 1 and 2. Drifting. Phosphorescent spores infect your pores. Gain 2 armor to all locations now. When you return to the settlement, the spores mature, and you gain the following ability. Crystal Skin. You ignore curse and cannot wear armor. When you depart, gain 3 armor to all hit locations. Suffer -2 to the results of all severe injury rolls. When you participate in intimacy, newborns gain Crystal Skin in addition to any other roll results. To my knowledge, this is the only way to get this, and this can make for some really interesting builds with things like Leyline Walker, or People the Skull, or Bone Earrings, things along those lines. This honestly isn't bad and is a nice trade, especially if you use Dried Arcanthus on that character, because then the -2 doesn't matter. At least for the first severe roll. 3 and 4, a reflection speaks to you. Gain a random disorder and 3 insanity. 5 and 6, caked in slime and weird crystals, you find 1 iron strange resource. 7+, you find 2 iron strange resources in the ceiling. You may gain them, or spend 3 survival to descend to the Lantern City. And on to the final table, which is that. Lantern City. Also roll a d10, and you get the +2 with the Almanac. Here's the real reason you don't want to be insane if you're doing this. 1 through 4, which is a 1 or 2 if you have the Almanac. A single light shines from a window in the otherwise darkened city. A pleasing aroma beckons you to a lit house. Inside, a welcoming family invites you to join them for a meal. If you are insane, you gratefully accept their invitation to stay forever. Your survivor perishes. Otherwise, your memory grows hazy after this point. Lose all survival, gain +6 insanity, and 1 random disorder. So,
death or really annoying stuff. But the other results make it worth the risk, in my opinion. 5 through 9, and yeah, it is going down, over, I don't know why. A yawning forge stands cold in the center of the city. Dismantling it, you gain 4 strange resources and 3 basic scrap resources. This is where you break the deck rules, because of the scrap. There is more scrap gained from this than exists. In this case, you gain the 3, you empty the deck if you haven't already of scrap, and then you put whatever extra you got from this on the settlement storage. And finally, 10. You meet a tall stranger with one massive eye. Your mind washes over in white noise. You awake with 1 piece of armor gear of your choice from the blacksmith's settling location, worth more than what you would get from the previous roll, in most cases.
Alright everyone, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, feel free to press the like button. If you think this will help somebody else, please share this video. If this video wasn't helpful, go ahead and press the dislike button. I won't mind, but please leave a constructive comment as to why. Also, if you want to comment in general, feel free to. If you want to ask about any questions of the hunt itself, which can be a confusing phase, that would be a good place to do so. Also, if you want to see anything more like this, be it other board game overview videos, my unboxings, or my Let's Plays, and anything else that I might do on this channel, feel free to subscribe. Regardless, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.